Hello YouTube, it's Dave here. In my living room today, as you can see, I'm cramping my foot. That's gonna help, isn't it? I've just got back from a wild camp and I had the most comfortable night's sleep that I've ever had camping up on Dartmoor. And I just thought I'd make a video bragging about it, to be honest. Now what I actually wanted to do is make a video explaining how I've upgraded my sleeping mat but kept it budget friendly. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get started, if you like hiking, wild camping and budget gear reviews, you've come to the right place because that's all I do and I upload once a week. Now I'm going to start off by going through what I was using as my mattress with my budget setup before last night's camp. And we're going to start with the roll mat, which is this. It's a Multimat foam roll mat from Go Outdoors. It cost me £9, which at the time I thought was a bargain, but now I'm starting to think I got ripped off. I've seen these for about £5 elsewhere, so yeah, maybe don't buy it from Go Outdoors. But yeah, either way, it's pretty basic. You can see it's quite thin material, so it's not going to be that comfortable, but it does insulate you from the ground, which is important when you're camping. It also doesn't weigh very much. I'm going to grab my scales, which I've left upstairs. Can you tell I'm used to making videos outside? This is showing as 0.2 kilograms. So yeah, practically nothing, but this is about as small as it folds down. You can roll it up nice and tight like I've done. I've got this kind of elastic strap, but it doesn't fold any smaller than this. So I do have to strap it to the outside of my backpack, which isn't ideal, but it doesn't add any real extra weight to the backpack at all. So I can certainly live with strapping this to the outside. Now in conjunction with the foam roll mat, I've been using this, which is the Eurohike Self-Inflating Mat, also from Go Outdoors. And this was £14, so a bit more expensive than the Multimat, but as you can see it does pack down quite a bit smaller if I grab the Multimat to compare the two. It's much smaller, the self-inflating mat, so it does fit inside the backpack. However, and this is a big however, it is quite a bit heavier as well. You can see it has a thickness of 2.5 centimetres. It's 183 centimetres long and 51 centimetres wide, and Eurohike reckons it weighs in at 940 grams. So we're going to put that to the test right now. As you can see, it's actually weighing in at exactly 1.1 kilos, so 160 grams heavier than Eurohike say that it weighs. And also, although it does pack down smaller than the Multimat, it's still pretty chunky, you know, it's a big, thick pack, and it doesn't compress down any further than this. This is as far as it goes. There's no movement in this. I'm immensely strong, so if there was, trust me, you'd have just seen it. Let's get it rolled out and inflated, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all blown up so you can see how comfortable it looks. Right, let's get this out so I can show you what it looks like. It's just going to roll back. Now, it looks very wrinkly at the moment and not very well inflated, and that's because it isn't yet. With these self-inflating ones, you've got to twist this at the end. You hear that inrush of air? That is supposedly the mat filling itself up. Now, although they call these self-inflating mats, you do have to put a bit of air into it yourself, but they say to leave it for about 5 minutes, let it inflate itself most of the way, and then you just have to top it up at the end with your lungs. So just to be super fair, I'm going to give it 10 minutes and then I'll bring you back and see just how inflated it is and how much blowing up I have to do. Right, well, it's been 10 minutes and as you can see, it's not really inflated at all. So that's going to be a job for me to do, isn't it? And it's been that way ever since I bought this. Both times I've taken it out camping, it's been like that. I've had to blow it up myself, and when I first got it, I kind of laid it out right here in the living room and tested it just to make sure it worked, and I had to put basically all of the air in then as well. So it's called a self-inflating mat, but it's a bit of a lie really. It's up, but I'm knackered. You can see even fully inflated, it's not the most comfortable looking mat. It's quite squishy, and it is fully inflated, by the way. I know you can see kind of wrinkles and stuff here, but I can't physically blow it up anymore, and it's just not going any further. You can see it's not the thickest mat to be sleeping on either, and yeah, just not particularly comfortable. It's quite warm, don't get me wrong, like I was never cold. And I would use that self-inflating mat with this kind of as a second layer underneath. And I did that initially, well, for two reasons really. One, to keep me nice and warm, which it did work for. Like I said, I was never cold using this setup. But B, to try and stop this from getting any punctures from anything that might be kind of on the ground underneath it. This is made from a really tough material. Obviously you can't feel it yourself, but it does feel very puncture resistant. So I don't think you have to worry about punctures with this quite so much as you maybe do with other airbeds. Like I say, it was never very comfortable. I could never get much sleep using those two, or this Multimat in conjunction with that self-inflating mat. But let me show you what I've recently bought and took out on last night's camp, which literally overnight has changed my experience of wild camping. This is what I really want to talk to you about today. The Andes inflatable sleeping mat with pillow. You get a puncture repair kit that comes with it. And here is the mat. So you've got the Andes logo on it. You can see immediately that it packs down much smaller and much slimmer than the Eurohike self-inflating mat. If we look at the two of them next to each other, it's really obvious the pack size difference between the two of them. This Andes is just so much smaller, so much slimmer. It's going to fit much nicer, much easier into your backpack, whereas this, much more cumbersome, going to take up a lot more room, even if you've got a larger backpack. But you would think, wouldn't you, that the larger, thicker sleeping mat was going to be much more comfortable than this small, slimline, super light one. In fact, I'm saying it's super light. Let's weigh it and find out exactly how much lighter it is than this Eurohike. Remember, this was 1.1 kilograms. This is 0.57 kilograms. So yeah, near enough half the weight of the Eurohike self-inflating mat. But Dave, surely it's much more expensive then, I hear you say. Well, I bought it off eBay, but brand new, not second hand. And it cost me $19.99, so 20 quid really. So it's £6 more expensive than the much larger Eurohike. But I think for the pack size alone, it's worth that, even if it was exactly as comfortable as the Eurohike self-inflating mat. But it is actually much more comfortable. And I'm gonna blow it up alongside the Eurohike and compare the two, so you can maybe see why. I'll get this blown up now. You don't need to see that because you've just seen me huffing and puffing on the Eurohike. And there we go, the Andes is blown up as well. I don't know if you can see in the video, but it's maybe not quite as inflated as it could be. I could maybe get a little bit more air into it, but it's inflated enough for me to show you what I mean by it being more comfortable than the Eurohike. You can see just by lining them up next to each other here, they are roughly the same length, but the Andes also has this pillow built in, which the Eurohike just doesn't have. And so that makes it a bit more comfortable anyway. Looking side on is the real difference. Look how much thicker the Andes is compared to the Eurohike self-inflating mat. And when I move the Eurohike out of the way, you can really see how thick and how comfortable that Andes mat looks. Now again, I could maybe got a bit more inflation in it for this demonstration, but I think it works well enough for you to be able to see. Now, one thing that I was making a point of with the Eurohike though, and I do think it's a plus for the Eurohike over the Andes here, is that it's a lot more flimsy, the material. It feels a lot more flimsy and potentially prone to punctures. So I think with the Andes, you definitely want to have this Multimat underneath it just to help protect against punctures, maybe any sharp stones or sticks that might be in the ground. But yeah, I think you can see just by looking at it that it is more comfortable. Last night I did have that Multimat underneath it, and like I said, I wasn't cold at all, even though it did get a bit chilly in the night. It's just so much more comfortable, such an upgrade from the Eurohike self-inflating mat. And to be honest, the amount of inflation it took, the amount of blowing up needed on this, it's probably slightly more just because it's got the pillow as well to blow up. But obviously if you're taking the Eurohike, you're probably going to be taking an inflatable pillow as well that you're going to be blowing up anyway, so it probably works out to about the same amount in the end. So yeah, that's how I've upgraded my camping mat but kept it as a budget setup. This setup of the Andes and the Multimat only cost £6 more than the Eurohike and the Multimat, so it's definitely going to be what I'm using going forward. It was so much more comfortable, and yeah, I think for £20, for the extra £6, the space that you save, the weight that you save, and the extra comfort of the camp, it's just a no-brainer for me. Thank you very much for joining me in this unusual setting for a video on my channel. I hope that this has been helpful. If you want to see more gear reviews and comparisons, things like that, then do let me know in the comments. And stay tuned for the wild camp video where I use this setup for the first time. That'll be coming out this Saturday, and I'm out with Neil from Forchesian's Hikes, Camps and Outdoors. And if you're watching this after Saturday, go down to the comments below, you'll see a link to the wild camp where I first used this setup. I don't talk about it too much on the day because I knew I wanted to come straight home and make this video comparing the two, just because I had such a much better night's sleep than I have in the past. But check out the description below for other budget gear reviews, wild camps and general hiking outdoors. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.